Lessons learned from my grandparents. My grandparents both passed away in 1998, and it's approaching their 26th anniversary. So I've been thinking a lot about them the last few days. And I wanted to talk about sales lessons that they both taught me growing up. Of course, growing up, I had no idea these were just sales lessons. And it's only years later, I think you often look back in your life and reflect and see what you've learned. So these were sales lessons from my grandparents. Um, they both came to Northern Ireland in 1951. They were among the first Indians in Northern Ireland. My father actually came over at the time, he was about 9 years old. And my grandfather did, door-to-door selling. That was all he knew how to do before he set up his own shop. And the first lesson really is work hard. Now, I'm not talking about working 15, 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. I think that's dangerous. At the same time, I see so many people working 9 to 5, and that's it. And so much of their 9 to 5 is consumed with meetings and meetings about meetings and distraction of social media. But if you want to succeed at anything, sometimes you have to go out to client events. Sometimes you have client dinners. Sometimes you have conferences on a Saturday. Sometimes you have to spend the evening reading material for the next day. I'm a great believer in work-life balance, of course, but sometimes you have to put in the extra hours. If you're working for somebody else, and especially if you're running your own business, the extra hours matter. Put in as many as you can. Don't overdo it, but don't do the bare minimum to get by. So definitely my grandparents working really long hours did make a difference. The second thing I want to talk about is community. So right now, especially in the world of sales, and especially with young people in sales, a lot of them are very lost. Part of this is their addiction to social media and unrealistic expectations in the world. Um, but certainly a community can be people in an office helping and supporting each other. It can be a mastermind group, which is a fantastic way to know people. It is meeting people at conferences or events. It's following people online. I mean, I'm a huge book reader and I reach out to a lot of the authors whose books I read. Many I don't hear back from because they're too busy or not interested. Many I do. And many have become friends, which is incredible. So, it's really important to have a community. You can call these people friends, you can call them a board of advisors, you can call them a mastermind group, but have people in your community who can reach out to. Whenever my grandparents moved to Northern Ireland, they got together with members of the community who had later arrived in the 50s and 60s, and they formed a community to help each other and support each other and be there for each other, which meant the community was very strong in the 60s and 70s and 80s. And people always do better with community. So work really hard. Community is really key. Exceptional customer service, yes. So my grandfather was quite unique on how he ran his clothes shop. There was never more than one person allowed in the clothes shop at a time. This was, I don't know if this is a typical thing in the day, but even today in the modern age, I've never heard of this. So people would sit in the waiting room, sometimes for up to half an hour to 40 minutes, while he would serve customers. And a lot of the time, the customers were buying a shirt or a pair of trousers. These weren't designer clothes, these were just everyday wear at everyday prices. But he served one customer at a time because he wanted them to make them feel special. And he kind of figured if he did, they'd be return customers. And he built his business on return customers. It wasn't new customers, it was return customers coming back year after year after year, either for clothes for themselves or school uniform for their kids. So over delivering customer service, and the fourth is habits. So it's fascinating that I'm a big believer in habits. My grandfather would wake up every day, 7 o'clock. He would go for a walk. He would do his prayers, and then he would have his tea, his toast, honey and toast it was, a cup of tea, almonds which had been soaked overnight because he was a big believer in habits and routines. And then every single night he would finish work at 7 o'clock. So he put in a long day, but he did this 7 days a week. Habits, routines, habits, routines. And in sales, when I work with sales reps, because every single week I'm observing demos or I'm listening to client phone calls. And sometimes those people are sales reps, but sometimes they are business owners who are having to sell. Quite often solopreneurs who are having to sell their product or their service. And quite often they don't have great routines and habits. Quite often they get very easily distracted by everything going around them. Quite often they don't have a to-do list for the day. And by the way, if your to-do list is overwhelming, here's what you do. Write your to-do list on a sheet of paper and then fold it in half. It just looks easier. And just focus on the first half and then focus on the second half. But habits and routines make a big difference. I read a quote once: people don't decide their future, they decide their habits. And their habits decide their future. I don't know who made that quote, but it's a brilliant quote. And your habits and your routines make a big difference. And every day it's very important to get into good routines and good habits. For myself, every day, 6:30, I am up. I spend a minute in gratitude. I have a cold shower because it wakes me up. I hate it. It lasts 1 minute. It's unbearable. I haven't got time for a nice bath, but I do that. Go downstairs, make a soy flat white, go for a walk, get my body moving, get thinking. Come back, do half an hour of reading, personal development, sometimes sales, and then I start replying to emails. And then after I do that, then I start my coaching work around 10 o'clock every day, where I'll do personalized one to one coaching, or I'll do group training with LinkedIn. So the routines and habits are very strict and they help massively throughout the day. So I hope those 4 habits help you massively in sales. Those lessons learned from my grandparents. They are: work really hard, community is vital, exceptional customer service, routines and habits. If this is useful to you, please subscribe to my LinkedIn YouTube chat. My LinkedIn? Please subscribe to my YouTube channel because every single week I'll be uploading new videos on sales to help you do better in sales, to help you overcome imposter syndrome, to help you with confidence challenges, to help you get more in the pipeline, and to help you convert the pipeline. Similarly with LinkedIn, I will help you, give you advice on optimizing your profile in terms of writing better content, building your brand, generating leads, and converting those leads on LinkedIn.